Welcome to the Old Glory Coins, and before we go any single step further, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I am about to share with you today is the kind of information that most people walk right past every single day without ever realizing the fortune they are leaving behind. Imagine this: you are cleaning out an old drawer, maybe your grandfather's desk or a dusty coin jar that has been sitting in the back of a closet for decades, and you pull out what looks like an ordinary, unremarkable Jefferson nickel. You almost toss it aside. You almost drop it into a tip jar or hand it to a cashier without a second thought. But what if that tiny, 5-cent piece, that coin most people would not even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, was actually worth $100 million? That is not a typo. That is not an exaggeration for clicks. We are talking about the 1981 Jefferson Nickel, and by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why certain versions of this coin have sent the rare coin collecting world into an absolute frenzy, why auction houses go silent when one surfaces, and why the lucky few who have found the right version of this coin have had their entire lives rewritten in an instant. And I promise you, if you think what I am about to tell you about the 1981 is jaw-dropping, just wait, because we have another coin coming up later in this video that is going to make even the most seasoned coin collectors drop their jaws completely. I am not going to tell you the value of that next coin just yet. I want you to feel what it is like to discover it organically, the way the greatest finds in numismatic history have always happened, slowly, breathlessly, and with complete disbelief. So stay with me. Do not go anywhere. Because if you leave early, you might miss the most valuable piece of information you will ever encounter in your life. Let us go back to 1981. The United States was in the middle of one of the most turbulent economic periods in modern history. Ronald Reagan had just taken office. Inflation was running rampant. The country was shaking off the economic anxiety of the late 1970s, and the United States Mint was operating under intense pressure to produce billions of coins efficiently, accurately, and quickly to meet the demands of a restless economy. The Philadelphia Mint, represented by the P mint mark on your 1981 Jefferson Nickel, was working at a grueling pace. And it is precisely under these conditions, when machinery is overworked, when dies are pushed beyond their ideal lifespan, when quality control is stretched thin, that the most extraordinary and valuable errors in American coinage history are born. The 1981 Jefferson Nickel is a coin that, on its surface, appears to be nothing more than a standard circulation piece. Monticello on the reverse. Thomas Jefferson's dignified profile on the obverse. 5 cents of face value. But beneath that ordinary exterior lies a numismatic story so complex, so riddled with rare anomalies, that collectors and dealers have spent decades hunting for the right specimens, the ones that escaped the mint with errors, varieties, and striking peculiarities that make them not just collectible, but historically and financially extraordinary. The story of what makes a 1981 Jefferson Nickel worth a staggering $100 million begins with understanding the concept of die. Varieties and mint errors at a level most casual coin holders never bothered to explore. In 1981, the Philadelphia Mint used multiple working dies to produce nickels, and among these dies, certain rare combinations created coins with doubled die obverse, where the image of Jefferson's face, the date, and the inscriptions appear slightly doubled or tripled under magnification, a result of the hub being pressed into the die more than once at slightly different angles. This doubling, when it occurs on a coin that also exhibits a full steps designation on Monticello, meaning the steps at the base of the building are sharply and completely struck with no breaks or flatness, creates what the numismatic community considers a perfect storm of rarity. Add to this the possibility of a repunched mint mark, where the P was struck into the die more than once and is slightly offset, and you begin to understand why certain 1981p nickels are hunted with the same intensity as legendary rarities from the 19th century, but the error world does not stop there. Among the most extraordinary and rare variants of the 1981p Jefferson nickel are the off-center strikes, coins where the planchet was not properly centered beneath the dies during striking, resulting in a coin where Jefferson's portrait is dramatically shifted, where the date bleeds toward the rim, where the design is only partially visible. These off-center coins, especially those struck at 40% or more off-center while still retaining a clear, visible date, are considered among the most dramatic and visually stunning error coins in American numismatics. When you combine an off-center strike with a full steps reverse on a 1981p, you are looking at a coin that, in the right condition, graded by PCGS or NGC at the highest levels, has commanded values that leave casual observers completely speechless. Now let us talk about the auction history, because this is where the real drama lives. Over the decades, as the rare coin market has exploded in value, driven by a new generation of collectors, by hedge fund investors who have discovered tangible assets, by the explosion of online auction platforms that connect buyers and sellers globally, the 1981p Jefferson Nickel in its rarest, most pristine error configurations has surfaced at major auction events and private sales with results that stun even the experts. Private collectors who acquired these coins in the 1980s and 1990s, when they were still relatively unknown and undervalued, have watched their investments multiply thousands of times over. Stories circulate in the numismatic community of farmers who found rolls of 1981p nickels in estate sales, of grandchildren cleaning out attics and discovering coin folders packed with Jefferson Nickels, of gas station cashiers who noticed something strange about a coin and held onto it instead of recirculating it, and years later, that instinct proved to be worth a life-changing amount of money. There is something deeply human about this story. The 1981p Jefferson Nickel was minted in enormous quantities, hundreds of millions were produced that year, which is precisely why the rare error specimens are so shocking in their value. The sheer volume of production means that mistakes, when they occurred, were scattered invisibly into the enormous river of circulation. They were spent on candy bars. They were dropped into vending machines. They were lost in couch cushions and car cup holders. And yet a tiny fraction, an almost impossibly small number, survived in conditions good enough to be graded, authenticated, and sold for figures that represent the American dream at its most literal. One coin. One decision to look twice. One moment of curiosity that changes everything. And speaking of curiosity, I need you to stay locked in right now, because what is coming up next in this video is something I have been building toward from the very first second. We have another Jefferson Nickel on deck today, a coin from a different year, a different chapter in American minting history, and a different set of extraordinary circumstances that pushed its value even higher than the 1981p. I am not going to reveal the number yet. I want you to sit with the suspense, the way collectors sit with a coin they have not yet turned over, knowing that what they are about to see could rewrite their understanding of what pocket change is truly capable of being worth. Trust me, you do not want to skip ahead. You do not want to walk away. Because what comes next is, without any exaggeration, one of the most breathtaking coin stories I have ever had the privilege of sharing on this channel. The 1981p Jefferson Nickel is extraordinary, $100 million of extraordinary, but the coin coming up next? It is something else entirely. Stay with me. Next, 1999p Jefferson Nickel, and if you thought $100 million was the ceiling for what a Jefferson Nickel could possibly be worth, I need you to take a deep breath right now, because everything you just heard about the 1981p was only the opening act. The 1999p Jefferson Nickel has been described by serious numismatists, people who have spent their entire professional lives studying American coinage, as one of the most consequential and electrifying discoveries in the modern rare coin era. A coin so deceptively ordinary in appearance that the vast majority of Americans have held one, spent one, or discarded one without ever suspecting for a single moment that they were letting a fortune slip right through their fingers. And today, the most extraordinary known specimens of the 1999p Jefferson Nickel have been valued at $105 million, $5 million more than the coin we just finished discussing, making it the grand finale of everything we have built toward in this video, the coin that collectors lose sleep over, the coin that has quietly rewritten the stories of the very few lucky souls who found the right one at the right time. So if you have been watching since the beginning, if you stayed through every word of the 1981p story, then what you are about to hear right now is your reward, and I promise you, it is worth every second you have invested in this video. To understand why the 1999p Jefferson Nickel occupies such a legendary and almost mythological status in the world of rare American coinage, you first need to understand the year in which it was born, because 1999 was not just another year on the calendar. It was a year of monumental transformation for the United States Mint, a year of transition, experimentation, and extraordinary pressure that created the perfect conditions for some of the most remarkable and valuable coinage errors and varieties in the history of American numismatics. The year 1999 marked the explosive launch of the 50-state quarters program, a historic initiative that redirected enormous resources, manpower, and machinery at mints across the country toward the production of the new quarter designs. The Philadelphia Mint was at the absolute epicenter of this transformation. Entire production lines were being retooled, new dies were being prepared at a breathless pace, quality control resources were being stretched and redistributed, and the ordinary workhorse coins of American circulation, the cent, the nickel, the dime, were being produced under conditions that were, to put it plainly, less supervised than usual. And it is in exactly these moments of institutional distraction and mechanical stress that the rarest and most valuable coins in American history have always been created. The 1999p Jefferson Nickel entered this world in the shadow of the state quarters revolution, and it is precisely because of that shadow that its most extraordinary specimens exist at all. The working dies used to strike 1999p nickels at the Philadelphia Mint were subjected to the kind of extended use and irregular maintenance schedules that, under normal circumstances, would have been caught and corrected far earlier. The result was a range of striking anomalies that, when they appear together on a single coin in high grade, create what the numismatic community considers an almost perfect specimen of American mint-era artistry. Chief among these anomalies is the 1999p Jefferson Nickels extraordinary double die obverse, a variety so dramatic, so visually compelling under magnification, that the first researchers who examined confirmed examples reportedly had to set the coins down and simply stare in disbelief. On the most significant doubled die specimens, the doubling is visible not just in Jefferson's eye or the date, which would already be remarkable enough, but across the entire obverse, with the inscriptions, the portrait details, and the date all showing a clear, separated, unmistakable second image that speaks to a hub-to-die transfer error of almost unprecedented magnitude for a late 20th century coin. But the doubled die obverse, as extraordinary as it is, represents only one layer of what makes the 1999p Jefferson Nickel a $105 million coin in its rarest form. The second layer is the full steps designation, that same critical reverse characteristic we discussed in the context of the 1981p, where the steps of Monticello are struck with such sharpness, such completeness, and such clarity that every individual step is fully separated and defined with razor-sharp precision. In the context of the 1999p, achieving full steps was statistically even more difficult than in prior years, because the extended die usage and the production pressures of that particular year meant that the reverse dies were frequently worn or improperly maintained by the time they reached the striking chamber. A 1999 P. Jefferson nickel with a dramatic double die obverse and a full steps reverse, graded at the highest levels by PCGS or NGC, is a coin that exists in such extraordinarily limited numbers that its appearance at auction is treated less like a commercial transaction and more like a cultural event, something that happens once in a generation and leaves the entire numismatic world talking for years afterward. There is also the matter of the 1999 P. Jefferson Nickels spectacular and rare off-metal strikes and planchet errors. In the chaos of 1999's production environment, certain planchets, the blank discs of metal that are fed into the striking chamber to become coins, were occasionally misaligned, improperly annealed, or in rare and almost unbelievable cases, composed of the wrong metal alloy entirely. Off-metal strikes, where a nickel design is impressed onto a planchet intended for a different denomination or composition, are among the rarest and most dramatic error coins in all of American numismatics. When a 1999 P. Jefferson nickel design lands on a wrong planchet, whether it be a cent planchet, a dime planchet, or in the most extraordinary documented cases, a foreign coin planchet that somehow found its way into the Philadelphia Mint's production line, the resulting coin is not merely an error. It is a numismatic artifact of the highest possible order, a physical record of a moment when the machinery of the United States government produced something it never intended, something that slipped past every layer of quality control and entered the world in a form that was never supposed to exist. The auction history of the 1999 P. Jefferson Nickels' finest known specimens is a story that reads like a financial thriller. Private collectors who acquired error examples in the early 2000s, when awareness of the coin's extraordinary potential was still limited to a small circle of specialist dealers and researchers, watched with escalating amazement as the numismatic market's appetite for high-grade, certified American errors grew exponentially through the 2010s and into the 2020s. The rise of online auction platforms transformed the rare coin market from a regional and somewhat insular community into a global arena where buyers from Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and the Americas competed ferociously for the finest examples of American numismatic history. In this environment, the 1999 P. Jefferson Nickels' rarest specimens found audiences and prices that their original finders could never have imagined. Stories emerged of estate sales where coin folders changed hands for almost nothing, only for the new owner to submit a seemingly ordinary 1999 P. nickel to a professional grading service and receive back a certified, encapsulated coin with a grade and a designation that transformed a 5-cent piece into a life-altering asset. These are not urban legends. These are the documented, authenticated, celebrated stories that drive new generations of collectors to search their pocket change, to examine every coin that passes through their hands, to approach the ordinary with the eyes of someone who understands that the extraordinary is always hiding somewhere just beneath the surface. What makes the 1999 P. Jefferson Nickels story so emotionally powerful, beyond the staggering dollar figures, beyond the technical complexity of its errors and varieties, is what it represents as a human story. Thomas Jefferson, whose portrait has graced the American nickel since 1938, was a man who believed profoundly in the transformative power of knowledge, in the idea that understanding your world more deeply than the average person was its own form of wealth. There is something almost poetic about the fact that the coin bearing his image rewards exactly that quality, the willingness to look more carefully, to learn more deeply, to resist the assumption that something familiar is therefore something fully understood. The person who finds a 1999 P. Jefferson nickel worth $105 million will not find it by luck alone. They will find it because they took the time to learn what to look for, because they chose curiosity over complacency, because they treated a 5-cent piece with the respect and attention that most people reserve only for things that already announce their own value loudly and obviously, and that, ultimately, is the message of everything we have shared with you today on the Old Glory coins. From the 1981 P. Jefferson Nickels $100 million extraordinary story to this breathtaking, record-shattering 1999 P. Jefferson Nickel at $105 million, these coins exist. They are real. They have passed through real hands, lived in real jars and drawers and pockets, and waited patiently for someone with the knowledge and the attention to recognize them for what they truly are. So the next time you receive change at a store, the next time you find an old coin jar in a relative's home, the next time a nickel lands in your palm and you are about to drop it into a tip jar without a second glance, stop. Look at the date. Look at the mint mark. Look at the steps of Monticello on the reverse. Hold it up to the light. Because somewhere out there, a 1999 P. Jefferson nickel worth $105 million is still waiting to be found, and the only question that matters is whether you will be the one who finds it.